Today we need to talk about people saying that V is upset and that he is being sabotaged. I have thoughts on this. We need to talk about V and Jisoo seen at an event and why people think V was talking about Jennie. And then we have a funny video trending. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave. Decide hate it or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Rapid Dumplings, that's his mug merch, and let's go. We need to talk about a recent video and a bunch of photos starting to trend. First off, if you've joined the fandom before all the members' solo activities, then you would have definitely seen a lot of shirtless BTS member photos. From Jimin doing his face album art to Jungkook doing Calvin Klein, and then of course random selfies here and there. We are seeing more and more shirtless moments from the boys, given how the boys in the past would wear clothes even in the pool. Seeing them being more open and being shirtless now has been quite shocking, let alone causing these huge shockwaves throughout the fandom and thirsty people to suddenly arise. Well, funny enough, V recently addressed this, which was so funny because I think the fandom often thinks that when the boys do something or drop a new photo, the boys are not aware of the panic it may cause and just the chaos the fandom turns into after. V went on to Suga's talk show Suchwita and addressed various things, but one thing that was absolutely hilarious was him talking about ARMY's reaction to the naked shirtless moments lately. V said that ARMYs like to refer to BTS's Chapter 2 being taking off their shirts, since BTS have referred to their solo activities as Chapter 2. However, V very quickly addressed that this is not about taking their shirt off at all. He doesn't quite explain what it actually is about, but he talks about the idea that it isn't supposed to be sexual. I think with Jimin's nudity, it's done in a very tasteful way, where the premise is to show him being vulnerable and expressing that more feminine side. I think V's nudity is done in the same way as well. Jungkook is meant to be a bit more sexual as he is doing an ad for Calvin Klein, but this is completely different thing because as far as I know, he hasn't stripped down or taken his shirt off for the 7 music video or concept shoot. Doesn't mean he won't for the official album drop, but he hasn't done it yet, I think. So him taking off his shirt is not a form of his own personal expression, it's just him doing it for a job. So the context definitely matters when discussing whether that is the point of the new chapter or not. This video or clip of V talking about this ended up going viral and picking up even more traction after Jungkook apparently dropped a photo of his muscular back. This was a black and white photo where we can see his huge upper back and just how much he has been working out. And this photo ended up going viral and ARMYs were so shocked just how buff he is and how amazing he looks, right? And then people were bringing up this clip where V was on Suchwita talking about how the next chapter is not supposed to be about taking their shirt off. And of course, this actually contradicts what I said earlier, and it's not supposed to be a Calvin Klein ad. It's not supposed to be anything except for just a photo that probably would eventually lead people to watching and streaming 7. However, I personally still think this is to promote Calvin Klein because we're seeing how muscular he is, and this is something that is very on brand with what Calvin Klein would want their models to post. But I think this is absolutely hilarious, and the next chapter of BTS is about expression, not nudity. A lot of the other comments were basically saying that they were shocked when V addressed this because the members don't usually address these sorts of things. And they typically don't like to address some of the viral stuff that goes on online. A lot of people choose to not address some of the negative stuff because it's just really hard to explain. If you get into a scandal that is a misunderstanding, then explaining that can often cause the case to get a lot bigger. And we've seen in many PR cases where the apology actually ends up trending and getting bigger than the actual issue ever did. And most of the time, labels and idols would only address things if the thing seems to be affecting their career outside of just rumors. For example, one of the main reasons V or Jennie may never choose to address their dating rumor is because why would they? Their sales haven't decreased and people aren't unfollowing them because of that rumor. I will talk about them too a bit more later. But anywho, there's been some backlash on some things that have been going on with V, and it just keeps getting bigger. Right now it's to the point where people on Twitter or X are mass tweeting and spamming both Geffen and Hybe, who are currently working on the physical distribution of V's album. So if you are not aware of what is going on, the labels are being called a bad person or company because they only order a select few albums and those albums really quickly sell out. And of course, naturally, the label is not able to resupply or restock that fast. Hybe was called all sorts of names and people were generally calling Hybe a bad company because of this. And I don't want to sit here and say that every company and corporation is good because there they're not all good. However, understanding how a company works, their incentive, and just overall going into a company with compassion and understanding is something that I really hope people will not only start to look at HYBE that way, but every single business or brand that exists, because they're all people running it, and people make mistakes. People were upset that HYBE didn't order millions of albums and not let the album sell out, and I think this is so dumb. Like, I really want people who are upset about this to think about it. First off, from a business point of view, it doesn't ever make sense to overorder. Having too much inventory is the worst nightmare for a company. They're better off under ordering and then keeping the album exclusive than over ordering and just having way too many albums just sit there. Also, sit where? So they have to rent out an additional warehouse just to house another million albums? Makes no sense. Also, going back to the album being exclusive, if the album were to not sell out, V would get so much hate for being an artist that can't sell out and is a flop. Then HYBE would get backlash for not promoting V properly because he's not selling out. And if he was promoted properly, he'd be sold out. So you see how it's a lose-lose for a company. And honestly, that sucks. And those who fight against this to say HYBE is bad because of this, they need some compassion. The main issue that people were bringing up here is that the album or the restock is happening after the cutoff date. For example, I think the Billboard charts or American charts stopped counting that first week's sale or whatever after September 14th. If that's incorrect, then just take it as an example. The exact date is not as important, but the album will be shipped a day after the 14th. So people were saying that this constitutes bad planning or HYBE trying to sabotage, because that means all the albums that were ordered after it being sold out won't be counted towards the charts. Album sales only count on the charts after they're shipped. And to this I will say, restocks happen when they happen. You can't rush this. If they rush the delivery or rush the manufacturing, everyone is going to complain about a million different defects each album has. And no one knows what is going on behind the scenes, and if there was some sort of manufacturing issue that led them to not be able to ship sooner or before the cutoff date. Again, we need to show compassion. And if V isn't even upset about it, to bring it up to HYBE or march into the warehouse and demand all the workers work overtime to fulfill them before the cutoff date, then why are you upset? People think that V is sitting there thinking that he is being sabotaged, but it's just not true. Also, my personal opinion is that charts and those sorts of things really don't matter that much. It irks me that artists nowadays have to care about charts and rankings because they'll be called a flop if they don't rank. This is to say that if you're an artist that doesn't make it to the top charts, you are unsuccessful. Let's do a little math here, actually. Let's say that an artist was independent, no label, and they sold 10,000 albums in 1 week. Not the highest number by any means, but if each album was $25, then they'd make $250,000 in 1 week before expenses. They didn't make it on any charts, or maybe just at 90th place or whatever, but they're considered a failure because they didn't get #1. That's more money than any of us will ever see, yet they're called a failure or a flop. The charts mean nothing. It doesn't mean anything. Stop making an artist's life about ranking on the charts. Being an artist is so much more than that. Going back to Jennie and V, this was definitely not anything that created a downfall for V. He is still very much thriving, but there was some leaked footage recently over the Seoul Art Fair. V and various other artists were invited, including people from New Jeans and even Jisoo. There was a clip that seemingly was taken by a staff member where it appeared like V was talking to Jisoo, and they were in deep conversation. People were saying that the V and Jennie rumors must be true because look at Jisoo and V having a conversation like they're close friends. And the only way this would be possible is if V and Jennie were actually dating. People for some reason believe V was talking about Jennie, however, this makes no sense. Could V just be friends with all the Blackpink members without dating them? V was also a host with Jisoo in the past. This was a long time ago and early days of both their career, meaning they were likely backstage together and probably had a chat and talked to each other. So this could be a reunion moment where they caught back up and talked about the new things that they were up to. This is not a surprise that they would have a conversation and it would not be about Jennie. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks for this lovely comment right here. Love you, bye.